Joining me right now is Wisconsin Congressman, House Armed Services Committee member Mike Gallagher. Congressman, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for being here. Will this pass today? What are your expectations?
Well, Maria, it all depends on what the Democrats try to attach to it. We've heard reports that they're trying to attach additional COVID spending to the bill, as well as some other things that would make absolutely no sense, that would amount to them trying to sneak their progressive domestic priorities into a foreign policy bill. So if that doesn't happen, if there's a clean bill, I think there's a lot of Republicans who are willing to consider it. In general, I think there's a lot of bipartisan support for getting more assistance to Ukraine as quickly as possible. But the devil will be in the details. And we've seen time and again that Democratic leadership, that the House under Nancy Pelosi's leadership, has prioritized progressive domestic spending over national security again and again. And we can't continue to let that happen.
Well, I don't understand this tin ear that the Democrats have. I mean, we're talking about sky-high inflation, and we know how we got here, all of this massive out-of-control spending, and they still want to spend more money, despite, their own bad policies stoking inflation. President Biden today is expected to unveil a plan to fight rising prices. He's going to be speaking this morning at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. He's going to take aim at congressional Republicans. And your economic plan, you and your colleagues at the White House, says it's calling ultra MAGA proposals from Republicans. Inflation is at a 40-year high right now. It's climbing to 8.5%, and it's gotten here under President Biden's policies. We have the timeline here, and it shows very specific exactly what happened. The president walked into the White House and inflation was at 1.4%. And then he came out with the COVID relief bill in March, and inflation went to 2.6%. Then he came out with proposals for a $5 trillion spending plan by the Democrats, and inflation came up to 5.4%. Then he signed the inflation, infrastructure bill in, and inflation came up to 6.8%. And then Ukraine is invaded. It's at 7.9%. On and on and on. Tomorrow we'll get the latest reading, and the CPI expectations is at 8.1%. That's lower than the number right now, but still above 8% is a problem, Congressman. What are you expecting from the president today, and what do you make of his comments about the MAGA proposals? It's your fault.
The president is living in economic fantasy land. He is obviously trying to blame anyone but himself. This attempt to blame Putin as if gas prices weren't going up for the year prior to the invasion on February 24th is just pathetic. And you know what else will stoke inflation will be if they go forward with this truly crazy proposal to cancel student debt. That's inflationary. It also amounts to us saying to people that didn't go to college that they're on the hook for paying for those who did, or for people that did pay off their student loans, that they now have to pay for people who didn't. It's absolutely insane. And then finally, what is the weak link of our strategy against Russia right now? Well, it's our crazy energy policy. The Biden administration has not changed course when it comes to their war on domestic energy production. Gas in Green Bay, Wisconsin this weekend was at $4.09 at the pump. That's crazy. A dramatic expansion of where we were just a year ago. And it's the administration's policies that are causing this.
Yep. Well, look, we heard the talking points that the president has put out already. Dagan read them, and it doesn't look like he's changing his stance anytime soon in terms of putting more oil, U.S. production, on the market. But I want to get your thoughts on the China threat, because I know you and your colleagues have been mulling over a new China policy. And, Congressman, you've said that you believe that unless we move heaven and earth in the next few years, we are going to lose a Taiwan war within the decade. You say this has the potential to reset the global order in a way we have not seen since the aftermath of World War II. Walk us through your thoughts here, Congressman. What are you expecting in the coming years with regard to China?
Well, Xi Jinping keeps telling us over and over again that he wants to take Taiwan by force if necessary. And we ignore those warnings at our own peril. He gave a New Year's speech in which he talked about getting the country ready to suffer, preparing the country, the necessity of ruining the country internally in order to build it anew. This is his lifelong ambition, and we would be naive to think that just because Vladimir Putin has encountered some friction in Ukraine, that Xi is suddenly abandoning his lifelong ambition. And the same things that make Taiwan difficult difficult geographically for them to completely take over, make it very difficult to resupply. So the lesson is that we need to get them the weapons and equipment they need now before it's too late. We cannot afford to have happen in Taiwan what happened in Ukraine, where we wait, we delay assistance, we put all our eggs in the basket of sanctions and soft power, and a ruthless thug ignores it and invades a country. We cannot allow that to happen in Taiwan.
Well, what are you expecting this China policy to look like, Congressman?
Well, I think we can completely modernize our assistance programs to Taiwan and force them and lean on them in a friendly way to invest in asymmetric capabilities, particularly Harpoon missiles, long-range fires, smart mines, things that can have a devastating effect for low cost. But we ourselves need to invest in equipment that will be particularly helpful in this scenario, what we would call stand-in forces. Think submarines, think Marines armed with long-range missiles, and think special operators doing things like sabotage in the Indo-Pacific. We have to rebuild our own military, as well as rekindle a war-fighting culture, which we seem to have lost in recent years.
All right, Congressman, we'll be watching all of that. Thank you, sir. Congressman Mike Gallagher this morning in D.C. We'll talk soon, and we'll be right back. Stay with us.